Good afternoon and welcome to the Low Agency webinar, Ramadan in the Australian Workplace. What are the challenges for workplaces and the opportunities yet to be realised? Before we start this webinar, I would like to acknowledge that LOTE is hosting this online meeting on the lands of the Wurundjeri and Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the Kulin Nation. Wurundjeri connection to this land dates back more than 40,000 years, and evidence of this connection still exists today. My name is Kwabena Ansa, and I'm hosting from the traditional owners of the lands of the Hornsby Shire, the Darug and Gurunung peoples who have lived in the region between 15,000 to 20,000 years before the time Europeans settlers arrived in 1788. I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we all meet today and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people participating in this meeting. We pay respect to those elders, both past and present. Amina.
Thank you, Kwabena. So I would like to welcome you to our webinar, Ramadan and the Australian Workplace. And to start, let's discuss what is actually Ramadan. From the evening of Saturday, 2nd of April this year, Muslims around the world, as well as in Australia, begin to observe Ramadan. As part of this tradition, people will be abstaining from food and drink during the daylight for 30 consecutive days until the evening of Sunday, 1st of May. Then Eid al-Fitr marks the end of Ramadan. Eid al-Fitr translates from Arabic as the festival of breaking fast. While Ramadan for Muslims is about connecting to God, sacrifice, charity, giving to those in need, so much of the month is also about gathering, to pray, to share a meal together, and to be with your loved ones. The idea for this webinar came about from discussions with friends and members of the team, and we also wanted to create an opportunity to talk with our guests from different Muslim communities to discover what Ramadan and Eid traditions mean to them, and to discuss the challenges and opportunities that they have faced when observing Ramadan in the workplace, and also just to learn more about Muslim culture and history along the way. So let's give a warm welcome to our guests. Kwabena.
Thanks so much, Amina. And yes, let's introduce the panelists for today. Ridwan Jadawat is First Assistant Secretary, Southeast Asia Maritime Division in the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and Australia's Special Envoy to the Organisation of Islamic Cooperation. Migrating from apartheid South Africa in 1981, Ridwan became the first Muslim immigrant to become an Australian ambassador and the first ambassador to lead an Australian embassy delegation on Hajj during his term as Australia's ambassador to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Yemen, and Oman in 2019. Welcome, Ridwan.
Thank you. Welcome to everyone.
Fantastic. Mohammed Mohiuddin is the Vice President of the Islamic Council of Victoria. Mohammed is the Head of Priority Engagement for the COVID-19 vaccination response at the Victorian Department of Health. A microbiologist by profession, Mohammed was born in Sri Lanka and moved to Australia in 1992. Mohammed also speaks a number of languages, including Sinhalese and Malay. Mohammed is the immediate past president of the Islamic Council of Victoria, and as I mentioned before, its current vice president. His work through the ICV seeks to champion social issues such as homelessness, domestic violence, poverty, and support for the rights of our First Nation peoples. Mohammed wishes our youth, both male and female, to be proud of being Muslim and not feeling disheartened by the negativity that is thrown at their faith and identity. Welcome, Mohammed.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Shamsia Husapora is a journalist at the ABC News Breakfast multimedia operation for National Ethnic and Multicultural Broadcasters Council, the NEMBC. She also is podcast host of Bulak, an analyst network, and Bulak is a Hazaragi word meaning spring from which pure water comes. It's a non-for-profit independent organisation that works for justice, peace and equality. A former youth ambassador for Plan International and is the founder of a non-for-profit charity, Anonymous Hope. Welcome, Shamsia.
Thanks, Kwabena. Great to be part of this.
Oh, great. Shakina Shanzaman is a marketing assistant here at the Lote Agency. Shakina was born in Malaysia and through her diverse study experiences in Australia and China, is deeply passionate about learning about different cultures and languages. Shakina is a final year Bachelor of Commerce student majoring in marketing science at Monash University and also works on the Lote Agency's marketing team. Shakina's interest lies in applying her cultural experience with her marketing to produce innovative solutions within the marketing industry. Welcome, Shakina.
Thank you, Kwabena. Hello and welcome, everyone.
So a bit of background about Lote. For those who are new to our webinars, the Lote Agency is a multicultural research and communication agency providing community insights, communication strategies, and engagement programs to help our clients to engage audiences from diverse backgrounds. We have 27 different languages spoken by our team, excluding translation staff. We get to work on important communication and strategy projects with amazing clients and host these webinars to share insights from the world of Lote and our clients, and get some great guests to share their experiences and learnings with us. Amina.
Hello, our wonderful guests, and thank you so much for your time and willingness to participate in it. So we start with some introductory questions. As all our guests are coming from 4 different cultures, that would be great to compare Ramadan tradition in all these different communities. So I would like you to think of the first question: how do you observe Ramadan and celebrate Eid in your community? And how do you actually manage to preserve this tradition while being so far away from your home country? And we start with Ridwan.
Well, thank you, Amina. My earliest memories of Ramadan were when I was a child in South Africa, growing up before we immigrated to Australia in 1981, and going around to friends and neighbors and family and sharing plates of food. And so as a young child, Ramadan was always a special time for us, and it was a time that I remember for celebration. But then through my life, as after we immigrated to Australia, and then after I became a diplomat and traveled around the world and celebrated Ramadan in countries as diverse as Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Malaysia, Iran, I got to know and learn about lots of different cultures and see how Islam is practiced in many different countries around the world, and made it very clear that Islam is not monolithic, many different cultural and religious interpretations. And so Ramadan is celebrated in many different ways around the world. But the one thing that it means to me is a time to stop and reflect. It forces you to look into yourself. And I think it gives everybody who does fast a spiritual boost. And from Sahur to Taraweeh, it changes your daily routine. It makes you stop and look into yourself. And it makes you transform your day and night. And I start with dates at Sahur and I end with dates at Iftar. And when I'm home in Australia, of course, at the end of Ramadan, it's also a chance to catch up with your family for Eid prayers and have a nice feast. But I think it's always important to remember that Ramadan is also about those who are less fortunate. It's not just about sumptuous feasts and celebrations, but also time to reflect on those who are less fortunate and to focus on charity giving, which is an essential part of Ramadan, of course, through your zakat al-Fitr and also through fasting. You gain an appreciation of those who go without food every day and how lucky we are and how we should not take it for granted. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you so much. You have an incredible international experience. What do you think, Shamsia? What is your experience?
Thanks, Amina. I think like Rizwan, very similar experience, but obviously as a kid, the most exciting thing about Ramadan was getting an extra date, because when I was 7 and I just enjoyed waking up just to eat, the early breakfast with mum and dad and my sisters. So I used to get a reward for waking up and just practicing or getting in the habits of, fasting when the time came. And I think the most part that I was looking forward to was the treats when we broke our fast. And, you get an extra date. If you wake up, you get an extra date when you break your fast. And at the end of Ramadan, during Eid, obviously as a kid, you get the money. So you shake it every uncle's hand or auntie's hand and kiss their hand just for 10 rupees back home. Look, I think as Rizwan said, it's about discipline. it's about self-reflection. And now that, at this age, I think, especially when we have such a busy life in here, we don't often get time to reflect on ourselves. We don't often get time to spend with our family or focus on our spiritual journey. The month of Ramadan really gives you the time to really reflect and, see your relationship with God. It's for a non-Muslim, the way I describe it, it's just like meditation. You don't meditate every day, but you try to. But during the month of Ramadan, you really focus, and you, in my opinion, you manage your time wisely, because all the time that you spend, preparing food or eating food, you spend that time in, okay, I'm gonna pray, or I'm gonna just meditate, or just reflect on what on me as a person. And also you think about when you get hungry, or when you get cold, or when when you get thirsty, you really think about those who don't have the luxury life that you and I have. And for us, it's just a matter of 1 month, but for them, it's their life, it's their everyday, I guess, journey. And I'm from Afghanistan, and especially right now, it really makes me think and reflect about the children, and the kids that go to bed hungry. And around 6,500 children have died since January in Afghanistan because of hunger, malnutrition. This Ramadan particularly really makes me think about those kids. And though I try never to take what I have for granted, but this month really helps me to keep them in mind, and to I guess thank God for whatever I have, because it could have easily been me in their shoes. So I'm really looking forward to this year's Ramadan, and whatever challenges or opportunities that it gives me.
Certainly. Thank you, Shamsia. It's very important to slow down sometimes. Life is very hectic, but we need to slow down sometimes and reflect on our lives and what we have and what some other people don't have. Mohammed, could you share your experiences?
Thanks. Thanks. Ramadan is, I think, a special month for all Muslims. It's one of the holiest months. I think that's what one of the key things it is. The key thing is, like, I think we all talk about what we did back home. One thing that reminds me is that back home our doors are open. We have an open door policy. I think it is to open our doors for people to come and share with us our faith and our culture, and also share a meal with us. I think that's one of the key things I remember back home. But I think it's more important reflecting what we have in Australia. I think this is important. We are a multicultural society, and within the Muslim community itself, we are very multicultural. We are not one homogeneous community. As you can see right across here in the 4 people who are here, or 5 people we are here, we're all very different. We are from different cultures. And Ramadan also brings people together. It's bringing communities together. And it doesn't matter what faith you are. People will come and share and learn about what Islam is, learn about what Muslims do during Ramadan. Because it's not just the fasting, it's not keeping away from meals, not doing this and not doing that. It is more about that spiritual journey and self-discipline that we bring within ourselves, and also understanding what giving is all about. Ridwan mentioned about zakat. Yes, it's that giving to people who don't have, people who need. And I'll give a good example is ICV, the Islamic Council of Victoria, has a mosque at Jeffcott Street in the city in Melbourne. We have 30 days of iftar. And many people who turn up there are the homeless, not Muslims. These are the homeless people, and who approach the mosque a month before Ramadan and say, when is Ramadan? It's even just giving that simple meal, sharing that meal with a person who does not have that little bit extra that you and I take it for granted, is part of what Ramadan is all about. This sharing and giving and self-discipline and looking after people who I need. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is absolutely amazing. Shakina, you are the last one.
Thank you, Amina. I think our views are pretty similar on how we would celebrate Ramadan. For me, apart from it being a religious obligations in our religion, biggest theme that comes to mind is the feeling of gratitude. It is the conscious thinking of, you know, how lucky we are to be able to have food every day and to be able to drink every day. And when you think about others that, you know, it's a reality in their daily lives not to have food or drink, it makes us consciously think about that feeling of gratitude, encourages more the feeling of empathy towards others. It is an amazing feeling, and that's why we call it the holy month. And also, like, for me, coming back, if I were to be where I'm from Malaysia, growing up there, I will be celebrating it with my family. And sometimes you go about your day, everyone's busy with their own schedules, but because you know, Ramadan, there is a specific time of, you know, sahur and breaking your fast. It encourages people to get together, and that's really the beauty of Ramadan. And coming here, it is a completely different experience because you get to meet other people that fast but are from different cultures, and you learn from them. And even for the non-Muslims, like the others mentioned, they are more interested to know more because of this holy month, because there is this special way of celebrating your day-to-day eating times, and you're breaking your fast. So I really enjoy this month, and hope that others would, you know, gain a lot from it and learn more consciously about it too.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as a non-Muslim myself, living in the United Arab Emirates, I'm still learning every day. So it's absolutely amazing to hear all your experiences and learn from you. We go to the second part of our webinar. So our guests are not only coming from 4 different cultural backgrounds, but also 4 absolutely different professional backgrounds. So we would like to discuss with you 2 more questions. And the first one will be, what are some challenges that you faced observing Ramadan while at workplace? And this time we start with Shamsia.
I was hoping you pick one of the man. That's all right. I think for me, I've only started working with the ABC just recently, but you know, in the previous years when I used to work for different companies or organizations, the biggest challenge for me was, especially before COVID, was just traveling to and from work, because I know would live, it's, you know, waking up for Zuhur, and then, you know, by the time I prayed, especially if the nights were long, you wait till you pray, and then it's still a bit early to leave for work. So you basically lose a bit of sleep. I know I'm not a morning person. So that was the biggest challenge. It was just, you know, getting that sleep, maybe half an hour, and then, you know, waking up again just to get ready for work. And then also coming back from work. Often I would take a bottle of water or maybe a few dates with me just to break my fast on the way in case I didn't make it home in time. So yeah, I guess traveling was really difficult, has always been difficult for me. I'm not normally a coffee person, so that doesn't really affect me. But of course, when you see your colleague, or you know, when you enter or when you walk past the kitchen and then they're warming up their food, it's like it really hits you. Especially the days where you have a stressful day and you get hungry. You know, it's all about, I guess, at the end of the day, it comes to discipline, but it's temptation as well. You know, you can't lie and say, no, I don't get hungry, I don't get thirsty. That's a lie if you do that, unless I'm just a foodie person. But yeah, those are the. Sorry?
That must be very hard for you.
Oh yes, no, but it's getting better. Especially nowadays. In the last couple of years, the days are shorter, and it's during winter, so it's not as bad. But I think with my current job, because I need a lot of, you know, concentration with what I do, you know, especially if you're you know, on live television. You need to focus, you need to have that focus on, and it's really important. And I'm a bit nervous because I feel like I might have a bit of fatigue, and yeah, that's my only challenge that I will be facing this year. But yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you so much. Shakina, what has been the hardest part for you so far?
I think similar to Shamsia, because I've only just returned back to Melbourne. I was previously back in Malaysia during COVID, so I haven't had the experience of celebrating Ramadan yet in the workplace. But I did study my last 2 years of high school here, and I went to boarding school in Melbourne. So I could say from my experience being in boarding school, the challenges were, I guess, because in school you need to follow the specific schedules, you know, break time, lunchtime, dinner. And so, yeah, I do feel the temptation sometime during break time and lunchtime when you see others eating, and you can, I mean, obviously you would sit at the same table. If not, you would be sitting by yourself, and you wouldn't want to do that. So, yeah, socializing with others when they're eating, it's a challenge, but I guess that does help encourages us to be more disciplined. Aside from that, not in specific to Ramadan, but there have been challenges in the sense where, you know, I guess for some of you might relate in terms of our prayer times. In boarding school, having roommates, it was difficult to find a private place for me to do my prayers, and the only room available was really the storage room. That was the only room that they provided to me, and it wasn't really an ideal storage room. As you can imagine, it was dusty, it was crowded with other things, and aside from that, because it's a public room to the staff members, you know, people would come in and come out, and I would get disruption. So those were the challenges I experienced, not having a proper space to practice my faith. And yeah, that's what I felt. Yeah.
It must be very hard to balance between your tradition and the local customs.
Yeah.
What has been your experience?
Thanks, Amina. I'd say probably the long hours that one works, and so you have to obviously integrate in your day the time to break fast, and so there's sometimes, depending on where I'm working, where it's rare to get home on time to break fast. You have to do it in the office, and then get home eventually. So your day becomes quite crammed. The other challenge I would say was that in my life as a diplomat, you know, you're celebrating Ramadan in lots of different climates and countries. I remember when I was on posting in KL, in Kuala Lumpur, how difficult it was to walk outside in the heat and the humidity, and that would take its toll on you, particularly when you're walking to Jummah on a Friday and then come back into the office at the embassy or High Commission. So I think it's just you adjust. I mean, the first few days are always difficult, and then the long hours at work. I mean, you have to keep going. So it's also about demonstrating to others that Ramadan is not an excuse for one to do less work. It is all about making sure that you demonstrate that with Ramadan, that it's self-sacrifice. It's your own internal mechanisms that need to change so that you can get through your day, and it is a test and it is a challenge, and so I'm always determined to make sure that you bring people on board by explaining to them what it means, and that's not an excuse to do less work or to sleep in or get up late. And when I was running the embassy in Riyadh, as the ambassador, one has to set an example too. So it was that if I can do it, then others can too. And thankfully, at that post in Riyadh, I had an incredible group of colleagues who joined me in fasting during Ramadan, and also some of them accompanied me on the Hajj as well. So I found throughout my life, wherever I go, you just learn to adapt and you become flexible, and Ramadan then starts to get into a bit of a groove after a few days. Thanks.
Thank you so much. It's very important to receive support, and it's great that some of your colleagues got on this journey with you. Mohammed, tell us please about your experience.
Yep. I think for us, I think for Muslims in general, I think we learn fasting at a very young age. We learn to adapt that there is this month that comes that we celebrate, we eat too much, we basically we party in the evening. In the sense, is in an Islamic way, we party, whatever we do, I think we gather with friends, relatives, and all that. And I think growing up, it's something you get used to it. So it's not something that is forced on us. I think no one tries to force fasting on anyone. There are various principles that apply to fasting, and who is allowed to fast and who is not allowed to fast, and who is exempted from fasting as well. And working in the university as an academic for over 20 odd years at Monash, and for Shakina, there's plenty of places for you to pray at Monash. There's a mosque, there's a prayer room and everything. So you don't need to pray in cupboards and corridors at Monash. So that's available. I think it's not really hard. It's easy. I think as Ridwan mentioned, we learn to adapt. We learn to use the day to the best of our abilities because we get up early. I've been here in Australia. When I first came into Australia, we were fasting from about 3:30 in the morning till about 8:39 in the night in 42 degrees centigrade temperatures as well. I've seen all the cycles, and we're now going back to summer for fasting. So I've seen, and it is possible. It has been done, and lots of people do it. And I think one of the key things is your colleagues seems to be more, the empathy they show to you is one of the best things you can, talk about. I think they don't like to drink coffee in front of you. They don't like to eat in front of you. And I tell them, look, don't worry about us. This is part and parcel. We're used to it. We're not going to break our fast by, you having a meal or you having a drink. So we learn to adapt, and it is a matter of, I think, putting in a little more effort into our way of life. We change a little bit here and there, but we get our work done. The main thing is when you're employed in a place, you can't turn around and say, I'm fasting, I'm not going to give my lectures, I'm not going to do this or do that. So it is an adaptation that we all come to accept. And I've never had a problem fasting in Australia. I've also lived in Korea, where I fasted, where the Muslim community is such a small, tiny community. And that's where you miss that connection, because here every day in the evening, whether you go at campus breakfast with a whole lot of students and staff members, or you go into the community and you breakfast with both Muslims and non-Muslims, it's fun. I don't have a problem with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's also very nice to hear when your colleagues are supportive and adapting together with you, because you have to adapt to the local environment and they adapt with you as well. So
just a quick one. I just want to comment. There are some colleagues who also then fast with you, and they join, especially when you invite them for iftar. They sometimes do fast and come there. They want to sort of be with you, be part of you. So that happens a lot these days, especially in a multi-faith community.
Can I jump in? And Ridwan, we've got a live question here that you might be able to answer, and other panelists as well. But how do you encourage your white, non-Muslim dominated workspace to do their own learnings about Ramadan?
Well, I think it's important for all of us to learn from each other. And when you're working with colleagues who are non-Muslim, then I think many people are curious, intellectually curious about what it means to be a Muslim, what does Ramadan actually entail. And so I think it's important for all of us who are fasting and all of us who practice the faith to be able to speak to our colleagues in a friendly way about what it means to be a Muslim and what Ramadan actually means in its spiritual but also practical sense. There's lots of questions, of course, about whether you can eat anything or whether you can drink and all of that. So I think it's a really good opportunity to build bridges of understanding and build your own cooperation and collaboration with your colleagues, and many of them learn from that and appreciate that. And I have also had similar experiences to Muhammad at work, both here in DFAT and also when I was on secondment to Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, where colleagues would fast in solidarity with me, you know, and then we'd share an iftar together. And we also have iftars in the workplace. We did last year here also. Throughout my career, we've always had iftars, and both Muslims and non-Muslims invited to break bread together. And that's no better way of bringing different cultures and religions and people of all faiths and no faith to stand together in a spirit of cooperation and cultural understanding. And I think it's a really wonderful time, Ramadan, to do that and to show the true face of Australian multiculturalism and the strength of our diversity. And I think it shows our unity in our diversity. So I think Ramadan is a great opportunity to do that. And the iftars that are held around the country and opening your hands to non-Muslims and showing them the true face of the community and the friendliness that comes with breaking bread across different religious groups, or I think is a really, really critical part of the Ramadan experience. And I know for those of you who've been to Sydney and before COVID, and I think they're going to have it again this year, the Ramadan nights celebrations in Sydney, Lakemba, where Halden Street is closed off during the evenings, and there's food stalls from all over the world, and many people from non-Muslim backgrounds come to savor the different experiences from different cultures. It just is a true demonstration of the richness of our diversity and the richness and the strength of Australian multiculturalism.
Well, I'm in Sydney and I'll be going down to Lakemba for that. So amazing. Amina?
That's great. Thank you so much. So following up on this topic, as we talked about some positive sides of Ramadan, unity, mutual learning, mutual understanding, what are some other positive aspects or opportunities that have arisen from Ramadan experience at the workplace that you have noticed? And we start with Shakina. What are some positive aspects that you observed?
From my observations, like Mohammed said, yes, universities do provide like prayer rooms or multi-faith prayer rooms, but there are also opportunities for like the primary educational institutions or secondary school institutions, because there is still it doesn't seem to be any accessible private rooms that could be used for those institutions. So I definitely think there is a room for improvement in that area. Yeah, and aside from that, I guess opportunities could be perhaps, you know, offering more, maybe in some cases where it depends on your job, if it's more demanding, allowing that flexibility to have multiple breaks, or maybe like have shortened breaks rather than one specific lunch 1 hour break time, you know, because as we're fasting, we need to learn to conserve our energy for the day. So I think allowing that multiple break times will be very beneficial to us. Yeah, I think in terms of, I guess, not in regards to Ramadan, but as in regards to Eid, because I understand that Eid is not considered a public holiday here. And if we wish to celebrate that day, we need to take time off as part of our leave entitlement. And so a thought could be maybe providing an option to exchange Eid with the Christmas holiday that we all get a public holiday for. So perhaps that might be a better arrangement for those that wouldn't affect their leave entitlement, the number of days that they have, and they will be working on Christmas rather than Eid. So that could be another option to organizations too. So yeah, a few suggestions there.
Thank you, Shakina. Sorry, Ridwan, what are some positive aspects that you observed apart from the challenges?
Well, I think going back to what I mentioned about how your colleagues get to be part of the Ramadan experience with you, and you know, they show solidarity and support, whether it's by fasting in solidarity with you, or by talking to you about Ramadan or attending iftars with you. I think for me that's been the most uplifting part celebrating Ramadan in the workplace is that you get a lot of support from your colleagues. I think it just shows the multicultural aspect of a society really comes through during Ramadan. You'll see that the respect that one has, mutual respect, is comes in spades, and you see how wonderful your fellow human beings can be in terms of supporting you. So I think that would be, to me, I think the highlight of my Ramadan experiences in the workplace.
Thank you. Mohammed, what are some positives and opportunities that you have observed?
I think, as Ridwan mentioned, I think one of the key opportunities and the best thing of Ramadan is to be able to share your faith with people of other faiths. I think just breaking bread with people, sitting down to have that chat before you break fast and after you break fast, I think breaks a lot of barriers as well. I always believe that you need to keep an open mind and an open door, and that can bring about a lot of changes. Again, I've just addressed Shakina's question about the leave aspects of it. In many places, I think workplaces, there's a thing called cultural leave. In the government sector, there is like you get 3 days of cultural leave. Each person has got 3 days of cultural leave that you can apply for Hajj, for Ramadan, either Eids or any other day. So there's 3 days that you can apply for. So something to think about. So there is this opportunity, and some places do offer that. Like at universities, you can apply, but you need to take it from your leave. But government sector has that cultural leave that is separate to the normal leave that you apply. So there is lots of support. And again, I always say we need, as Muslims, for us is to keep an open mind. People and consider no question is offensive, because people will ask you because they might want to learn from you and want to empathize with you and share your experience. So keeping an open mind is the most important thing during this month as well, apart from other ones all the rest of the year. Thank you.
Keeping an open mind is very important at any time of the year. Shamsia, you're the last.
Okay. I think I pretty much agree with what the other panelists have said. Just to add on to something positive about Ramadan is was that the question, Amina?
Yeah, exactly. Some positive sides or opportunities that you have noticed at the workplace.
Yeah. Again, I agree with the other panelists with what they have said. The other thing is you learn a lot about yourself and about what you can handle under pressure. And you know what, that advertisement, you when you're hungry, that sneakers advertisement, because I feel like when you're under a lot of pressure and you're hungry, you get stressed or you get really agitated quite easily. So I think during the month of Ramadan, you really have to think about how you react, with people around you. And it's a month of, not only, I guess, disciplining yourself, but also being kind to yourself as well as others. And that's the key to our faith. That's the key to our faith is that you be patient. It's emphasized in the Quran from the very start to the beginning to the end. You be patient with yourself. You be patient with the others, and I guess there's a lot of compassion as well, as the other panelists have mentioned. When people want to fast with you, when people want to learn about your religion, instead of that negative stigma that they want to hold on to, you kind of get excited, like, oh, I got to tell you about this thing. And of course there are memes as well that you can relate to, like, oh, you don't even drink water, things like that. And so I think Ramadan is just a blissful month that you can learn so much, not only about others around you, but also yourself. And you just you think about your negative actions, and then you try to fix it, because it's all about reflection, self-reflection, and you become a better person.
Thank you so much. We're going to the final part of our discussion. I would like to hear some of the final thoughts from you. If you have any conclusions or final remarks before we go to the audience questions. Anyone who wants to add something?
Yeah, I think I would like to add something. I think the interesting thing about celebrating in Australia, because it's different when you're celebrating back home, because you're celebrating with people that have similar faiths, people that you know. So it's more about encouraging the celebrations, whereas back here, it's more about that kind of cultural understanding or cultural acknowledgement of these different celebrations. And like Shamsia says, like it does bring an excitement because you're teaching other people about your culture, rather than back home when everyone's aware of it and there's more of a rich cycle of it. Because I remember experiences from in boarding school. I do try to find opportunities where I could show my celebrations. For example, during the breakfast times, if it's during dinner time, I would bring my box of dates to the dining hall, and as I break my fast, offer them to my friends. And yeah, I think it's that showing of the positives of Ramadan to other people, and seeing them understanding it. It's really the beauty of celebrating Ramadan in Australia, in a multicultural
I think one thing
community.
that I would like to add is, if every month was like Ramadan, if we all acted like we act in Ramadan, I think we'd all be pretty stress-free and pretty successful people. Obviously success means different things with different people, but the patience that you build, the tolerance that you have, the empathy that you show, it's such an incredible month. It's not even about religion or anything, it's just about you fixing yourself and all the negative things that you have about you. You're just trying to get rid of it in this month to become a better person. And I think if we continue doing this, and I think that's the purpose of Ramadan as well, it's not just, hey, this is the month of Ramadan, I better be an angel, and then the next 11 months I'll just be whatever I want. It's like, no, it's like, this is where you get tested, and then you sort of apply the knowledge throughout the year until the next Ramadan. And I think if we do that throughout the year, I think we'd all be pretty happy, and our soul will be very, very light and stress-free. Thank you.
So much kinder.
Yeah, Ridwan, with your final thought, I'll be interested to know, as a diplomat, and we had a question from public, what has obviously your workplace done to make you feel accommodated during this month? And would love you to expand on that, and any thoughts around any strategies for workplaces to help organisations move forward around this month. Thank you.
Thanks. I would say wherever I've worked, I've found a spirit of openness and compassion for those who are fasting in the month of Ramadan, whether it be in DFAT or Prime Minister in Cabinet, or when I was working overseas at Australian embassies, where I can then also play a role in helping to shape the the governance in terms of the running of the missions. And I think people are always willing to put their hand out and to help, whether it is to provide prayer facilities or to provide opportunities for iftars. But as I said earlier, I think it's incumbent on all of us when we're working, in a workplace that's majority non-Muslim, that it's our job as well to try and enlighten and educate people about what Ramadan actually means. And I think it's important that we show the serenity of the experience. And I'd recommend people don't get hangry, and that you focus on your spirituality and your inner decency, and have lots of sabr, lots of patience, so that you don't allow going without food to be an excuse to become irritable, and you focus on actually being better, as Shamsia was saying. It's very important, I think, learning moment, Ramadan, not only for yourself, but for those who are around you, and to take to pause and reflect and think about those who are around you and who you have to set an example for when you're fasting. So I think in the workplace, it's a two-way street. They can help you to help facilitate your own Ramadan experience, but then it's also up to you to educate them and others around you, and to open your hands and your hearts to others who are not Muslim, to explain and to provide them with the essential lessons or the essential truth of what Ramadan means. And that is about a spirit of sharing and giving, but also I think very important that all of us pay attention to the charitable aspects of the month and ensure that it's not just about feasting, but it's also about giving and caring for those who are less fortunate, and not forgetting the essential meaning of Ramadan, which is why Ramadan is with us, and to not take things for granted.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Ridwan. I understand you have budget estimates to sort out, so we want to say thank you for your time, and you do have to leave early, but we'll continue on with the panelists, and again, a warm thank you from the LOTE agency for joining us.
Well, thank you to all of you at the LOTE agency, but also to my fellow panelists. I wish everybody Ramadan Mubarak and Ramadan Kareem, and I hope that you all have a wonderful month. And I hope one day, inshallah, we can all get to meet in person and actually have an iftar together, inshallah.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Okay.
Inshallah, looking forward
Likewise,
to
thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
Inshallah.
you, Ridwan. Amina.
Thank you. We have another question from the audience. Zia asks, how do we devise a strategy for not going slow at workplace during Ramadan? Anyone want to share their ideas?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Sorry?
What was the
Just
question?
repeat again.
Sorry. Yes, please.
The question was, how do we devise a strategy for not going slow at workplace during Ramadan?
I think what as Muslims, I think we need to accept that this is part and parcel of our well-being, and I think being examples that we don't use Ramadan as an excuse not to do the work we have to do. I think we still have to achieve, as Sanjay mentioned, we still have to achieve our goals, our objectives, and what we have to do, because we have an obligation. Those obligations not only are spiritual, but also community oriented as well. So whatever role we play, whatever duties we have to do, I think we need to find time to achieve both. And it is easy. We do that 365 days, the rest of the year. We still practice our faith. We still pray 5 times a day. We still do other things as well. But it is that balancing act and learning to also talk to people. Be upfront. If you think this is now getting a bit too much for you for the day, talk to them. I think you don't expect people to read your minds and decide that you're fasting and you're having problems, you're having a headache, so that's why you're unable to do things. Talk to people and people will listen. So I think that open dialogue is very important. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely what Brother Muhammad said. And the other thing, I hope this doesn't come out in the wrong way, but nowadays we live in a digital world. I think one of the things that in a way irritates me is when people ask basic questions about Ramadan that you can easily find on Google. I mean, we have to be realistic in here. There are some people might be working in a really a very stressful environment, and they're trying their best to get on with their job, get on with their day. But if there is a particular colleague is constantly asking from A to Z, and you just kind of get irritated because first of all, you're hungry. Second of all, you're trying to get the job done without losing your patience, because that's the biggest test in here. And you could easily do that. Like, I mean, it's like, it is our job to answer questions, but also it is your job. It's your responsibility to go out of your own way and do a bit of research rather than just waiting, because we don't live in a cave, I guess. We have access to internet. I hope that didn't come out in the wrong way. Yeah, so you can, but if you have a particular question, because obviously different cultures celebrate Ramadan differently, the Afghan community might celebrate different to the Malaysian community or the Bangladesh community, then you can ask that question. Again, I enjoy answering questions. In fact, I get really excited when I enlighten people about Ramadan and about Islam, but everything has its limit, as my mom says. So If you have a particular questions that you like to get to know, that you like to ask from a Muslim, then go for it. But if it's just basic, like, oh, what's Ramadan, then those are the sort of question that kind of makes you think, like, come on, put a bit of effort and research yourself. It kind of makes us feel good, the fact that you know already about Ramadan, and it makes us excited that, hey, since you know this much, I'm more than happy to elaborate a bit further. But yeah.
So great.
I just want to add a little final point on that. I think, in the sense of what Shamsia was trying to say, I think it's important to be mindful, to be kind to one another, especially on a holy month, I guess someone might be hungry and, but also it's important to be kind to yourself, I would say, in that question about how do we strategize our energy for the day. Or I think for me, it is that question about adapting to the month. I would say that my time schedule does change a bit because we wake up early for sahur. So I try to, if you're not a morning person, maybe you go back to sleep and start your day a bit later. But if you're a morning person, it just encourages me to maybe do more work in the day, but then have a little more downtime in the evening. And then perhaps rather than taking one long break, like most people do, like lunch hours, I would take more regular short breaks, just to sustain my energy for the day. But still, it's not an excuse to not get work done. But in that way, I won't be burning out for the day. So at least it's a balance. So yeah.
Thank you all.
Can I just add one more comment? I think this is to our non-Muslim friends. Don't have pity on us. That's not what we want from you. We want empathy, where you understand, you ask the questions. Don't think, because we're fasting, we need to feel sorry for you or something like that. And sometimes people do that, and it comes out not the way they want, what they want to mean as well. So just be careful about that aspect. Pity is not what we look for. We look for empathy. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more short question. Probably it's a bit repetitive, but it's good to discuss a little bit again. How do we best support our Muslim staff during Ramadan? And how can we best share information about Ramadan through our organization? Amy asked.
I think what Mohammed mentioned is a great point. Often you get, oh my God, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Yes, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, but I don't need you to pity me. I choose to do this. There are, it's compulsory for those who can do it, for those who are healthy, for those who are, there's a criteria of who can and who can't fast. And I guess one way that you can support your Muslim colleagues or friends is just be mindful, just be understanding. So one of the things that happened to me during my previous job was, you go outside just to get a bit of fresh air, and your colleagues, one of my colleagues was smoking, and so I had to, it was a bit awkward because she was talking to me, so I had to move a bit further down, because the smell of smoke, it sort of breaks the fast. Correct me, Mohammed, brother, if I'm wrong, but you're not supposed to, smoke, obviously, because that's part of the temptation. So you also try to avoid staying away from that kind of things as well. And so just be mindful about, you can eat it in front of us, that's no problem, but smoking can also, so people like me, I have a really, I get headache and I feel nauseous when someone smokes, even if I just walk past them. So imagine if I'm standing with a colleague trying to get a fresh air, and then there's a colleague, smoking, yet still knows that I'm fasting. So just be mindful. Again, we're not seeking for a pity, just a bit of understanding and a bit of compassion. You don't constantly have to apologize for eating, for doing things. You can still go on, have your lunch, have your coffee, no problem. We wake up early to, fill our bellies. So unless it's towards the evening, then yeah, okay, don't eat in front of me. Um, but yeah, I think just be mindful and just be really respectful, like you would, any other day, not just during Ramadan. That's what I mean. If we act the way we act in Ramadan, I think we would all live an easy and very peaceful life. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
And fantastic.
Thanks, Savina.
Thank you. Saying in terms of food, but not so many people. And for me, it's also like I never thought of it about the smoke. That when you breathe it in, it's something that you consume as well. So yeah, thank you for sharing this thought. Anyone has more ideas before we wrap up?
Yeah, just a quick one. I think I think for people to realize that towards the end of the day, our energy levels are really down. So maybe whatever that has to be done can be done in the 3/4 of the day, and then the last hours are really sometimes, and especially when you go to the last 10 days of fasting, our energy level will be down. You have to expect that because people have been fasting. All your internal body fats also gets burnt up, and all that happens. So just to be aware that sometimes people will be more tired. Some people will be fine, but there'll be people who will be tired as the month towards the end of the period. And in the evenings, our sugar levels all drop. So we all, anyone with a sugar level that drops will feel tired as well. So something to consider, not start giving strenuous work or more demanding work to a person who's towards the end of the day when they're fasting. Yeah.
And one of the things, sorry, Kavana, just one last point, is that the second part of the question was how can they, pass the information to the organization? I guess, as Brother Muhammad said, if there is important work and that needs a lot of focus, that needs a lot of attention, try to give it, earlier in the day rather than leaving it to the last minute or in the afternoon, because, you have to think realistically, though we're not seeking for pity, but we are human, we are running out of energy. So, if you're hungry, you can't really focus properly. And I'm sure everyone eats food, so you'll understand. So if you have, meetings, really important meetings, and you've got, a lot of work, try to give it to them earlier during the day, then rather than leaving it later, because at least they have the energy to think, plan, and sort of get the most important part done, and then they will still have a bit of energy to get the rest finished in the afternoon. Yeah, that's just yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to say I completely agree with that, and perhaps that could be considered as an opportunity for workplaces to consider, or even other organizations, because I do experience, in my experience being a student as well, it's not like I can't do anything during Ramadan. I can't do assignments, I can't do exams. We still have to do it regardless, but is this, being mindful of the time of day, perhaps maybe don't schedule assignments or exams that are due around the time that you're meant to break your fast, because we can't focus on it. We wouldn't be able to exert as much energy as we would normally if it's maybe earlier in the day. So I think, these are just a few more points for organizations to be mindful of.
Yeah, no, what an insightful discussion between the four panelists that we've had today. Very much so, I think that last point of ensuring that workplaces considering their Muslim colleagues during the month of Ramadan, and especially meetings. As we know, back-to-back meetings are sometimes draining. So I want to thank everyone for their participation. But before we wrap this up, if you'd like to learn more about how to reach and communicate with cold audiences, you can reach us via our website, loweagency.com.au, or email info@loweagency.com.au. I'll bring back my colleague Amina to really, wrap this entire conversation up and say a special thanks to our panelists. Thanks, Amina.
Thank you. So to wrap up, a big, huge thank you to all our panelists for joining us today for this incredible and super insightful conversation about Ramadan in the Australian workplace and sharing your experiences with us. And finally, a huge thank you to our audience who stayed until the end or who joined for a little while, for also taking time to join and ask questions and make it such an interesting discussion. We wish you all a lovely month a great day and stay safe, and see you soon in our next webinar.
Thanks so much, Amina, for having us. And for those who are celebrating Ramadan, Ramadan Kareem to everyone. May this month bring lots of blessings and happiness and joy to everyone's lives, not just Muslims.
Yeah, thank you so much to my colleagues Amina and Kwabena. And yeah, I wish all of you, all of the Muslims out there listening to this, a happy Ramadan, a happy Eid, and to non-Muslims as well, a happy month of learning about Ramadan and Eid.
Ramadan Kareem to everyone, and especially to you, Sisters Shazina and Shamsia, and your families as well. Hope you have a wonderful month, and may Allah bless you and accept all your ibadah. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. Wa alaikum
Thank
salam.
you so much.
Jazakallah khair.
Salam.